Sounds good.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this morning. We're going to be talking about the differences between NAV 2017 and Dynamics 365 financials. Now, we are having our presentation by our very own business analyst, Alan Wyne, and we are excited to hear from him. We've had a lot of people sign up for the webinar, so we do want to get started here. I just want to remind you that we do record this and all of our webinars, so if you want to watch it again or you want somebody else in your organization to see it, the recording will be up on our website by the end of the day. Our website, of course, is innovia.com. And if you have any questions, just type them into that question box. I will get them called out and answered for you. So, Alan, without any further ado, we will hand it right over to you.
Thanks, Abby. Again, welcome everybody to this overview of the differences between NAV 2017 and Dynamics 365 financials. There's been a lot of interest around Dynamics 365 in the last year as Microsoft has rolled this out. And hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll have a picture of the differences between the two products, maybe start talking with your resellers about which one is right for you. If you're brand new to the NAV and Dynamics world, picking that one, or if you're looking at an upgrade or a re-implementation, maybe reevaluating where we're at. So as Abby said, my name is Alan Wyne. I am a business analyst with Innovia. I've been here about 3.5 years now. A lot of background in IT, manufacturing, and distribution, and currently, work as a virtual CIO and analyst for a lot of our customers. So hopefully I'll be able to give you the basics of the differences. And if you would, we'll hold questions until the end. This will take probably about 30 minutes, would be my guess. And at the end of that, we will answer what questions we can. If there's a question that I can't handle for you at that point, we'll certainly write it down, and we'll get back to the group with the answer to that one. So without much else, let's talk about Dynamics NAV 2017 and 365. For those of you that have been in the NAV world, you know NAV, it's a client-faced version. Microsoft several years ago started really looking at the subscription-based world and made a major move into it, both with Office products as well as their operating systems, server systems, and then obviously Azure as their hosted environment. And as part of that plan, what they found was there was a strong desire and need for a hosted solution for financials, and then frankly, for small to medium-sized business ERP systems. And so as time progressed along, they really made a push into this, and they have basically shared the code base between NAV and Dynamics 365 and have made very good inroads into this product. It's been out now for probably at least 8 months to a year. But again, what I would say is everybody gets nervous on those times. It's a shared code base. So this is not like they built this from scratch. They took a very stable, very consistent product and have moved it into the 21st century and really made it a good product. So what do you get from both of them? I mean, what are the same things? Well, it's anywhere and any time, right? Whether you're on NAV 2016 forward, 2017, or you're getting into Dynamics 365, you're basically able to run this product on a PC. You're able to run it in a tablet mode, or you're able to run it in a phone mode. The other thing that Microsoft has done over the last couple of years is they've really made a push into being agnostic to the operating system. So when I say you're running it in a tablet or you're running it on your phone, it's an app for that phone, and it is written for that OS and for that type of device. So whether it's a 7-inch tablet or an 11-inch tablet, whether it's an Android phone, a Windows phone, an iPhone, whatever screen size, NAV and Dynamics 365 both, those apps are written for those devices. And so you go to the App Store, you pull it down, you put in your credentials, and you are off to the races. It's that way with their Office 365 products. It's that way with their NAV products. It's that way with their Dynamics 365. And the other thing people used to talk about was, well, anywhere and any time, that only means if I'm online. Well, I agree. But for those of us that travel a lot, is there any place we're really not online anymore? I mean, whether it's the hotspot of our telephone, or cell phone, I should say, that tells you how old I am, or stopping at a Panera's, stopping at a McDonald's, wherever it is, the rest stop down the interstate, they all now have Wi-Fi. So you're pretty much always online. And that's a good thing because, again, since it's designed for those devices, your people are really going to be able to stay much more competitive, stay much more focused on the tasks at hand. So what do you get from both of them? Well, it's, this is just a high-level snapshot. I mean, if you really dug into it, you get almost everything you need in Dynamics 365 in comparison to NAV. There's a couple of areas that, we'll talk about here in a little bit, but basically, if we read through this slide, and we're going to, on the financial side, obviously I have GL, I have AR, AP, inventory control, I have account schedules, I have my standard trial balances, I have the ability to push any of that out to Excel. I am able to do my cost roll-ups. All of those things that we would expect in financials, bank rec, it's there. It's there in NAV, it's there in 365. So, you're not missing much of anything in the financial side. Fixed assets, again, a fully versioned fixed assets product, depreciation schedules easily done, all types of different time schedules for those, 1 year, 5 year, 3, 10, whatever it is you need. A good process for the retirement of assets or the disposal of assets, the addition of them. The whole asset management piece is there, writing your journal entries on a monthly or a recurring basis. That information is all there with the adjusted schedules. So you've got a good fixed asset product. From a sales perspective, your salespeople, your customer service people, hey, it's quote to order. So I can build a quote, I can convert it to an order, I can push that out to have it manufactured or shipped or picked. All of those things can be done. Customized pricing, it's by customer, by item, by levels, by discount rates, by time frames. All of that information is capable of being done in both systems. And both of them have a basic CRM, so I can do opportunity management. If I'm the sales manager, I want to track my salespeople. I can see what's going on. I can see what level they're at in the sales process. I can look at my pipeline. Those things are all there. I can do my email blasts. I can track activity. When was the last phone call made? When did people talk to this contact? Obviously, a full contact operation as well as prospects, and basically being able to track that. So again, it's a basic CRM system, but for a lot of companies, that's really all they need, and it works well. Purchasing, POs, standard stuff, pricing levels, multi-vendor. If I get a break for this amount of time on it, but if I buy this quantity, all those capabilities are built into the system. You can do blanket POs with multiple releases against them. That's standard in both systems. If you do any service management, if you go out and work on equipment that you may have sold, or that maybe that's just your whole industry, as you're going out and working on mowers, or you're working on snowmobiles, or whatever that is, refrigeration units, that's built into both systems, and you're able to do them. You can budget them, you can apply jobs, do your invoicing. Jobs is actually built into both systems, so if you're a job shop, if you're manufacturing one-offs, for like what I like to call them, it's always a job and always unique. That is all in both systems. You can create them and maintain them, do your scheduling, schedule your resources, whether that's equipment or a person or a task or a skill. All of that can be done in there. You can assign POs to it. So if I've got a job and I'm buying steel for that particular job, I can have the PO be assigned to that job. The costs will be rolled in. I can have it do an invoicing off of that cost, so a cost plus. I can do invoicing based on time. I can do it based on resource utilization, all of that information. And then obviously I can do all my statistical analysis off of those also. Item management, again, simple, normal stuff. The item master screens, you've got stock keeping units, my inventory levels, what do I have on order, what do I have on sales order, what's my commitment level, purchasing parameters, And I will tell you that purchasing parameters, unfortunately, are not used like they should be in most places, but there's a full, heavily utilized system that really allows you to have the system tell you through requisition worksheets, what do I need to buy, and when do I need to buy it? What are my lead times? What should my safety stock be? That's in both systems, and you really need to take a look at that because it's good way to help with the cash flow, good way to help with inventory management. And then in the system side, both of them handle multi-companies. Now I will tell you that in NAV, if you're hosting it on-premise, it's going to be multi-company inside your database. Dynamics 365, you're doing what they call a multi-tenant in most cases, but you still have, you're sharing a database structure. You can only see yours. Other people can only see theirs, but you can have multiple companies inside that. So let's say you're the owner of a company. My primary company is company one, but I also have 3 buildings, and that's through a real estate holding company, and I charge myself rent. I could set up a second company for that inside Dynamics 365, built into the price, and I can certainly run both those companies that way. Both handle multi-currency in similar fashions. If you're doing work on an international basis or with Canada, Mexico, whatever that is, you can certainly handle that. And then if you have a variety of languages that people may need to talk, or you're international, it certainly supports all of that. The role centers, the user-based interface, again, standard in both systems. I can, as a user, change the look and feel of my screens. I can take columns away, I can add columns, take fields away, add them, move my tiles around, add charts, add list views, all of that built into both products and done in a virtually identical fashion. So if you're an old NAV user from 2013 forward and you switch to Dynamics 365, all your people are going to know exactly how to do that stuff. And then both obviously have multi-level security. So, I can set somebody up to look, don't touch. I can set them up to do full posting. I can set up authorization. So maybe Fred in purchasing can buy anything up to 5,000, but he needs approval after 5,000. The approval systems are built into both applications. Whether that approval comes via automated emails or you log on and say the approval, whether it's sales orders, purchase orders, all of that is there. It's built in. But the users are set by a security level. And, as long as everybody isn't a super user, you can certainly control that. And then finally on forms. And forms for me are defined as customer invoice, our purchase order, our sales order, quotes, some reports. Microsoft has made a push in 16 forward and obviously in 365 financials to do those in Microsoft Word. And there was a couple of reasons for that. First was most people know how to do a mail merge, and frankly, what they're doing today is a really fancy mail merge. I mean, technology-wise, that's the way it works. Most users always modify these forms, and they always used to have to pay somebody to do it. Now they have the ability to structure those forms, change the logo, change the look and feel within reason pretty much on their own. And that's been actually a big benefit. People certainly like that. The other thing that you get with both systems is full integration into all the Microsoft Office products. So, you have full integration into Excel. And this is my Dynamics or my Office 365 screen, login screen. But I've got, Excel, PowerPoint, Word. I can send information out. I can use OneDrive to store PDFs from Dynamics 365 or NAV. I can tie it, and we'll see it here in a second. I can tie it into my Outlook. If I've got Power BI generating reports, all of this is functionally associated with it. Dynamics 365, maybe I've got some Power Apps that I have, or I'm using Microsoft Flow for another way to better utilize the software. Again, this integration is really miraculously becoming more and more tight. And Microsoft is making a very strong effort to say, look, we want to be your business solution. So we're tying NAV 2017 and 365 financials into the point where people are just going to kind of look at it like they look at Office. It's all there. It's all associated together. And this is probably short of just being able to push information out to Excel and pull it back in, this is probably the best example of what they're doing today and really pushing the envelope of how it's integrated into Office. What you see here is somebody has basically put together an email. They're talking about a quote. The quote information is going back and forth. Microsoft Dynamics 365 or NAV 2017 with the proper add-in is smart enough in Outlook to go, oh, we're talking about a quote, and it will bring the quote up. But not only will it bring it up on inside the Outlook email so that you can edit it, it's a fully functional NAV insert. So I can now go in, I could go into this, go in, change the lines, change the pricing, giving them an additional discount, save it from here. The system would automatically update it because technically I am literally inside NAV, and then forward back the email with the requested changes, never having left Outlook. For some users, this is a big deal. If I'm a customer service person and 80% of my day is spent dealing with requests via email, I don't want to switch applications. I don't want to keep hopping to the ERP system and back to Outlook, then back to the ERP system. It'd be really nice if I could just do it from within the email. Well, Microsoft is now doing that. For some users, this isn't a big deal, but for more and more people, we're finding people getting more and more excited about how this works. Again, security settings, you got to have rights, but this is in both packages, and this integration into Office is huge. And the Excel integration, we've been seeing that for a long time. I'm not really going to picture it for you, but I can push virtually any list out to Excel, pull it back in. I can push out a whole slew of recurring journal entries, let somebody manipulate them in the Excel spreadsheet, push them back in, and post them. It's just it's one package is literally what we're seeing. A neat feature that they're giving you in both systems now is the OCR Engine from Lexmark. Microsoft got together with Lexmark about a year or two ago, whenever they really started this, and said, look, we're getting a lot of requests for people who want to be able to push a PDF of an invoice up to an OCR engine and then have that optical character recognition, OCR engine, read it, parse it out, and basically create an accounts payable in NAV that I can then approve and post. And so they've done that with both of these. So this is built into NAV. It's an engine you use that's hosted, but it's built into NAV, it's built into 365. I get my invoices, my accounts payable invoices. I tell them to run it through the engine. It comes back and says, you okay with this? Yes, we are. I have an accounts payable in my NAV. I now just need to go ahead and approve it and post it and then pay it at some point. It ties back to the PO if you've got PO numbers on there. There's a lot of different screens that you can work with. There's a lot of different fields that you can correct. But the interesting part about this one is in other OCR engines, you train each individual vendor to your ERP system. With Lexmark, they're looking worldwide and going, every time I get a vendor, I'm going to log that. If anybody else that gets that same vendor, if I can recognize it, I've already figured out the invoice, we'll be able to process it. And we're seeing a lot of people really get excited about this. You need to talk to your reseller. There's a certain amount of scans per month that come free, and then there are, you pay for levels after that like you would with any other OCR engine. But again, this is back to what am I getting with it? Both of them are giving you this capabilities. Little on the interface. If you're a NAV user, this looks familiar to you. I've got my tiles in the middle. On my left, I have my fast menu options. On the right, I've got, in this case, a graph. It could be a list of customers. It could be a list of popular items, open invoices, whatever it is. The thing you'll notice here is I don't have the menu ribbon. That's because I'm one level up. If I actually clicked on customers, then you would see that standard menu ribbon that we see in NAV. But you can still see that it's very NAV-like. The red bar across the 49,000 overdue, those indicators are all still there. Everything is working. People would notice this. This is the NAV 2017 interface. Again, very, very similar in both cases. You have your back buttons. You have your fast menu items on the left, your tiles, and your graphs or whatever list views you've got out on the side. So from an interface standpoint, almost identical. And I will tell you that as you look at this on tablets and on phones, other than the fact that you got less real estate to work with, so it's rendered slightly different, you're still going to see fast menu options, tiles, and graphs and that type of thing. So that was what you get, and it's virtually identical on both sides. They gave you what they wanted in both cases. There are differences, though, and this is where we get into kind of looking at your business and deciding what will work for me and what won't. I will tell you that Microsoft is putting a really heavy push on rolling out additional features and functionality in the Dynamics 365 world. So you'll notice I say NAV 2017 only as of 2/16/2017. This was today. In 6 months, some of this may very well be in the standard offering of Dynamics 365, but I kind of had to draw a line in the sand somewhere, so this was my line. The financial management piece, Dynamics 365 is not going to do intercompany cost accounting or consolidated companies today. Consolidation is coming, we do know that, so that could change in weeks or a few months, but the cost accounting functionality that's built into NAV, that's 2017. If you need cost accounting, you're going to want to stay in 2017. Same with intercompany, the extensive intercompany that NAV can do. If you need that, if you've got a lot of companies, you're moving a lot of product back and forth, and you need those intercompany accounts to move that from a general ledger perspective, it's a NAV 2017 install for you. Assembly and manufacturing, NAV is not, or Dynamics 365 does not have this as of yet. There's a strong push from the community for Microsoft to get that rolled out in 365, but as of today, if you're a manufacturer or you're an assembler, what you're not going to have is what's listed below there. So 2017 NAV gives you bill of materials, routings, work centers, machine centers, all your capacity planning, your MRPs for generating work orders, for generating production, for doing transfers, all your shop calendars, the ability to go back and statistically analyze, what was my cost, what were my times. All of those capabilities are built into NAV. They are not at this point active or used in Dynamics 365. So if that's a piece of your puzzle that is important to you, you're going to be a NAV 2017 user. If you have lot tracking or you have serialized items, again, that's in NAV 2017. It is not today in 365. So that's another indicator for you. Warehousing, if you've got multiple locations, if you do transfers between them, if you want to use bins, pick and put away, directed put away, if you want to do cycle counting, those types of things, shipments through automation, that is a NAV 2017 product. So again, if you're a distributor and you need that capability, you're going to be staying in the NAV 2017 world. In sales, there's not a whole lot missing, but campaign management, so if campaigns are important to you, campaign pricing, you're going to want to stay in 2017 for that. Campaigns aren't a deal, then 365 may be okay. And then on the service side, you can run a service industry as long as you're not really needing these four things. So if service is part of your business, you're okay in 365. If on the other hand, let's say I'm selling tractors and I'm logging those, and those are now service items, and I've got the serials item numbers in there, and I do contracts with these guys for repetitive maintenance, preventive maintenance. If I want to be able to generate work orders and assign a technician to that work order, assign parts to it, be able to bill from it, cost roll it, that type of thing, if I want to be able to dispatch, I'm going to be in 2017. I'm not going to be in 365 for financials. Now, there's probably a few more here, but really these are kind of the keys that when I work with companies, this is what I see as people potentially going, yeah, but I got to have that. Okay, well then you're a NAV 2017 type company. I will say again, there's a strong move to really expand Dynamics 365. So it's kind of like always check with your reseller because it may have changed. They may have added that. And as you have these conversations, you're certainly going to want to do that. So there's a couple of deployment options. There's some differences in between the two. NAV 2017 allows you to do owned software on premise, or you can put it up in Azure. There is a third option. I don't see it used a lot, but it is a monthly subscription for NAV. So it's similar to what Dynamics 365 does in terms of you pay for the users as you need them. But primarily what we see is either people have servers on premise and they're using their own, or they've got it up in Azure or AWS or Rackspace or wherever they've got servers. NAV 2017 does require you, if you're owned software, and let's assume we're owned here, you got to have SQL Server, or if you're hosting it up somewhere, you got to have SQL services engaged so that that can all be taken care of. You're going to need the servers, set up the service tiers. If you're going to do the anywhere, anytime, or have a browser-based version that you want people to access, you're going to have to open the web services correctly and get them through your firewall and do all that setup for you. It's just part of the deal. You do have to purchase the software, obviously, and you have to purchase your users. So, this is not a subscription-based one. This is, I buy as many users as I think my maximum is going to need. Where we see people question this is, look, 9 months out of the year I need 15 users, 3 months out of the year I need 30. Let's say I'm a supplier to a retailer and Christmas is my busy season. Well, in an owned software world, you have to buy 30 users and you're only going to use 15 of them for 9 months. It's part of the deal. But, it's part of the cost of the ROI. You figure out what makes the most sense. You do have annual maintenance, so if you've owned it, you got to pay that. And then, there is an app for basically all types of devices in 2017. So, that's common across both systems, but, it works really well. I've used 2017 on a lot of different phones, a lot of different tablets, and it does a really good job. They've done a nice job with that. Deployment on 365 is only hosted by Microsoft, so you don't have an option there. When you when you choose it, it's effectively like buying an app. Microsoft's going to take care of it. They're going to do all the upgrades. They're going to manage the SQL Server. They're going to handle all of that. You just need to log in. So all that's included in your monthly fee. There is no client that you're going to install on a PC or any other device, a laptop. You're just going to go to Office 365, sign in, and then go to the app. Again, the app's set up for all types of devices. You do need an Office 365 account per user. There's varying levels of those, so you'll want to talk to the people you're buying Office 365 through as to what level you really need. Obviously, it's a monthly subscription, so there is no annual maintenance from that perspective. And in this particular case, with the monthly subscription, you can have, if you've got your 15 users for 9 months and 30 for 3 months, then you just activate those 30 for those 3 months and you turn them back off at the end of that 3-month period. So you're really only paying for the 15 users when you really need them. The other 15, as the year progresses along. One of the big things that people like about NAV is that it's modifiable. You can go in and modify the code, make it really fit me like a glove. So here's the caveats to this. Yes, it's modifiable. Yes, NAV 2017 and 365 financials share a common code base, but only NAV 2017 allows you to modify the source code. And you need to have either the reseller do it or a developer with the proper developer license internal to go in and make those changes. There's a large group of ISVs out there, software vendors, who have written a lot of different packages that tie into Navision or NAV. And they, such as DMS, Lanham, Netronic, I'm just spitballing some, but they develop products to work with NAV, to expand on things that NAV simply didn't expand on. So warehouse management, shop floor data collection, scheduling, planning, these are big pieces of the puzzle for a lot of people. Those ISVs have that, and again, it's back to the same thing. You purchase the software, you pay annual maintenance. It ties in a variety of ways. NAV 16 and 17 have gone to a new way of putting those in, called the events and extensions, which is hopefully going to gain us the ability for Microsoft to upgrade their source code without the extensive expense of reporting the mods and doing all that. If everybody follows the rules, that's going to help a lot. In Dynamics 365, you don't get to modify the code. You don't get access to it. That being said, what we're seeing is a fairly decently growing ecosystem of people building apps. And it's going to be apps. It's not going to be the ISVs, even though they're building some of them. This is I go to the App Store and say I need warehouse management. You buy the app, it comes in, goes into your monthly fee, or maybe it's a one-time purchase. It gets loaded, and poof, you're off to the races. It ties into your version of Dynamics 365 Financials. The tools people are using for those are Power Apps and Microsoft Flow. So you've got a development community out there that is rapidly putting these into the world of Dynamics 365. And what I think you're going to find is you're in 365, you're going to see these apps grow and grow and grow, and you're going to get most of what you're going to want. There may be times where you go, look, the way my business runs, I have to be able to go in and modify these posting routines. I have to be able to do this. At that point, you're a NAV 2017 user. You just are. You got to go in and modify that code. Then you're going to have to do that. But my challenge to you would be really think, do I need to modify the code? What is that modification for? Can I change a slight business process? Can I do a couple of other things that take advantage of the system, but let me just not necessarily do that mod? And I think a lot of companies will find that they're okay with not doing the mod and living in 365 and not making that the sole reason to change. I'm not going to talk about pricing here. That I want you to talk to your resellers or your Dynamics 365 reseller. But if you purchase the software, you're going to have the started and or extended version. My caveat to you on this is always buy the extended version. Yes, it's more, but you get everything then. Okay, and that's important. For those of you that have been around NAV for a lot of years, you remember the years of where we bought the software and then we had to buy all these granules, and it seemed like every time I wanted to do something, I had to go buy another granule. From 2013 forward, as long as you got the extended version, you got everything. There were no such things as granules anymore. So that's a big deal. And I would always caution people, just get the full version because you're going to be happier in the end with that. Concurrent users, you have full users, which basically they can be a super user. They can do basically anything they need to do inside NAV. There's a limited user, which I call look, don't touch. Ironically, a president is usually a really good limited user. They want to see information. Maybe they need to do an approval, but they're not going to be posting accounts payable. They're not going to be running sales orders and posting them into the system. So it's significantly less than a full user, but you just basically can't do a lot of posting. But you can see a lot of things. You can build a lot of things. So as you're looking at usage, look at what does my person really need. And then in NAV also, if I'm doing scanning, I have something called a device count. And this was because what happened was the limited user wasn't strong enough to do what the scanning engines needed. So Microsoft created an intermediate one called a device count. You buy these, you associate them to a MAC address on a unit, and then it's functional from that perspective. And you can do your shop floor data collection, your warehousing, that type of thing. And then as we talked about, you do have annual maintenance, which is a percentage of your total value of your software and your users. And then you have to have a SQL Server instance. I mean, there's other licensing to this, but basically from a NAV perspective, that's it. We're not talking about server operating systems and OSs for PCs. This is, if I go by NAV, this is what I need to deal with. Dynamics 365, I've got a monthly subscription by user. So I need an Office account. And then, my business level is basically the equivalent of a full user. Over in NAV, they can do everything that they need to do that their security allows them to do. The Essentials user are, again, look, don't touch. I need to be able to see things and work with them, but I don't necessarily need to post. So, again, presidents, high levels, C-suite type people, the guys out on the road that just need to be able to see quotes and sales orders, but they're not necessarily going to process them. Those are essential users. And there's a savings for that. So, you might as well take advantage of it as possible. You can always change somebody to a business user or down to an essential user if you find that it's just not working the way you've got it set up. Unlike 17, where you buy a user and they're fully on all the time, like you talked about in 365 Financials, users can be activated and deactivated as necessary. So if somebody leaves, I can deactivate them. I've only paid for that month that that they're finishing out. And if I've got people I meet that are in there as temps, I can set them up, do it, and then shut them down in a month or two when I'm not using them anymore. So there's a savings involved there also. Again, all the applications are included. There is no difference between starter and extended. You get everything when you log on as a user. And because you're a monthly subscription, there's no annual maintenance. So you gotta, you need to do the ROI, but I will tell you, when we have laid the two out and somebody's buying brand new in both cases, there is a fairly significant savings over a 3 to 5 year period. If they really can use 365, then we can see a savings for people. And with the growth of that product, I would say you don't have to be nervous about am I going to outgrow it. Today, when you ask yourself, okay, which one? Again, under NAV's 2017, if you need manufacturing or warehousing, or you need intercompany, you got to be a NAV 2017 guy. I mean, you just do, because it's not in Dynamics 365 at this point. It will be coming. I'm confident of that over time. Microsoft hasn't called me up and said, hey, yeah, we're going to bring that out. I just know that as they grow this product, that's going to be a stumbling point, and people are going to get into that, and they're really going to push it. So I'm confident that in some way, shape, or form, Microsoft is eventually going to be rolling those things out. If they don't, what's going to happen is somebody's going to build an app, and that app will be there for people to be able to do these things, because the structure of it is good, and people are going to want to work from it from that perspective. If you need on-premise, if your owner or your CEO goes, look, I just like opening the closet and seeing that server sitting there, okay, well, you're a NAV 2017 person. If you need to do modifications to your source code, if you need to write your own source, if you need to get in there and do heavy modifications, you're a NAV person, 2017. You're not a Dynamics 365 person. If you've got a lot of modifications today and you're looking at a re-implementation, evaluate them. Maybe you don't need them. Maybe you can get away with it. But that's a key. If I have to modify the source code, I got to stay in the NAV 2017 world. If I'm using QuickBooks today or a similar product, I'm a 365 financials person. I can easily make that transition. There are tools out there to migrate your data from QuickBooks to Dynamics 365. So, that's an easy change. If I like fully hosted and I'm good with monthly subscriptions, if I look at it and go, I want it to be my light bill, I just want to pay a fee every month, I don't want to worry about it. And I don't want to worry about servers, I don't want to worry about SQL Server, I don't want to worry about any of that stuff. You're a Dynamics 365 person. Again, pay for active users when you need them. You can do it in NAV with a certain subscription world, but we just don't see a lot of that. On Dynamics 365, that's where we're seeing it. So that's why I've really focused on own software versus the monthly subscription. I will tell you that from what I've seen, Dynamics 365 seems to be an easier implementation and training cost. NAV 2017 is a big ERP system, and it's very extensive, and I've seen it used everywhere from $2 million a year companies to $500 million a year companies. There's setup involved, and there's maintenance involved, and there's some work involved in it. And because it does so much more, like in manufacturing and warehousing, you've got some setup you got to deal with. In Dynamics 365, implementation isn't as hard, and the tools for getting you up and running are easier. And once you set your users up, and once you set your posting groups up, you get your chart of accounts, you get some basic training, it's not too tough, and you can get going quicker. So we're finding that it's less expensive significantly to do those. I would say if you have a remote work staff, 365 is a better option. You can certainly do it in NAV. It does anywhere, anytime. But I just kind of like the flow of the way it's structured in Dynamics 365. And I'm an Office 365 advocate now. I really enjoy using it. It's just easier for me. I rarely use my Outlook and my Excel on my laptop. I go to my 365 login, and there it is. And Yammer's there, SharePoint's there, everything is there. And if you like the plug-and-play world, if you like, I want to buy an app and download it, that's where Dynamics 365 is headed. So I would highly recommend that people look at it from that standpoint and watch that. I mean, if you don't need to make a decision quickly, then really watch the expansion that's happening from that perspective. There's a lot of information out there. There's a boatload of information on NAV and NAV 2017. You know, 3 places we go. Obviously, I'm going to send you to my website because, you know, we want to provide you with information, but your reseller's website will have information. Microsoft itself, obviously, NAV overview, go there, talk to them. Don't be confused by the Dynamics 365 piece of this. It's kind of an overlaying world and name, but NAV is where you would want to go on the overview. And then I will tell you that if you're using NAV today and you are not in NAV, shame on you. You know, it's an inexpensive way to get a great deal of good information from people that use NAV. NAVUG is the NAV user group. Every year they have something called Summit, and there are thousands of people show up to that. But more importantly, there is a web out there you can post questions to and get good information back. And these are from users, so you know, it's other than your annual membership, it's free. And when you post a question, you'll get 20 responses of how people have fixed that, who's run into it before. Really good reference, really good point. And you can talk to people about, hey, has anybody upgraded to 2017? What was it like? Do you like it? I mean, that's invaluable information, and you know, and it's not slated, it's not slanted, it's from users, you know. So take advantage of that. You know, whatever you do, and whatever version of NAV you're on. I've got people on there, they're on version 2.7, and they still post information and questions. So real good. For Dynamics 365 Financials, Cloud Financials is a very good website. A lot of good videos, a lot of good information. It is a company that we work with when people want 365 or when we think it's a good fit. They know what they're doing, so I really recommend you go to them, look their information up, and then obviously go to Microsoft, go to the Dynamics 365 Financials piece that you can see listed here, see what they've got, you know, start poking around in that. You know, there's some capabilities out there of getting kind of a 30-day sample. Dynamics 365, a little crippled in terms of what you can do in it, but primarily it gives you everything. And it's, you know, allows you to go in and post transactions and do what you need to do. So good information out there that you can get from these folks, and I would highly recommend, as you're looking at this, talk with your reseller, talk with people who know the industry, and you know, and go to seminars. Go, you know, get on and see what the websites have to say. So with that, I really appreciate your time. I'm happy to try to answer any questions that have come up. And Abby, do we have anything?
We do have a couple of questions, Alan. Just a reminder to everybody, if you have any questions you want answered, type them into that question box. So our first question, can NAV be used as a month subscription method?
Yeah, and again, I didn't push real hard on that one because I don't see it a lot, but you can, if you talk to your reseller, you can do a subscription for NAV 2017. It would work as a monthly fee. There is a user fee, there's a server fee, there's a couple of different fees that get tied into that, but it's similar to what Dynamics 365 does. You are able to activate and deactivate people on a monthly basis. So that is there. I just, like I said, haven't seen it used a lot, so you know, we didn't hit it very hard this time.
Okay, great. Our next question, how do you activate and deactivate users in Dynamics 365?
You know, it's really simple. If you get the administrator of your site, you go in there and say this person isn't active anymore. You know, you turn them off, and then you don't get a renewal the next month. And then so it's you know, a couple of mouse clicks and poof, you're done. Now you know, you can take them out of Dynamics 365, but leave them in Office 365. Maybe they're no longer, you know, they no longer need that access, or you can just shut them off completely from your Office 365.
Okay, and another question, does Microsoft have a plan moving forward for both products?
Yeah, that's always a question people want to ask because they don't want to buy something and go, you're discontinuing in the next year. There is a 5-year plan that I've seen when I've been at seminars for a lot of the Dynamics products that includes NAV and 365. So while it hasn't been heavily in detail, they are talking about what they're expanding into, the growth rate, how they're wanting to change some of the underlying plumbing and add new features and functionality. So I'm very comfortable that they're looking at least 5 years, and that's what they're talking to people about. I'm not sure how many more years past that they're looking, but my guess is it's Microsoft, and they do take a very long view of the world. So yeah, real comfortable that this is going to hang around, not a flash in the pan. And keep in mind, Microsoft wants monthly subscriptions. That's where they're headed. So it's a good time to be looking at this stuff.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like those are all of our questions, Alan. I just want to remind everybody you're going to be able to view the recording of this webinar later today on our website, which is innovia.com. And Alan, we want to thank you so much for that presentation.
All right. Thank you, folks. Appreciate you showing up.
We hope to see everybody on our next webinar.